Hello writers, come write with me. My name is Mykela Greenwood. I create worlds for mind adventures. Welcome to my channel, Write with Mykela. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell so you can go on this journey with me. Today is story time. But instead of reading the story, today we are getting a new plot so that we can have together. We're going to share this plot. It's called a shared plot 3.3. What a shared plot means is it's not a detailed thing of every little outline. A shared plot is like a bare bones thing. I give you the shared plot. You take the shared plot. You write your story with it. I write my story. And then we read both of them on the channel. Or I read them on the channel. And we can see how my perspective and my exposure to my life is different from yours, and my ideas are different, and your creativity is different from mine. It's a great tool to do. I did this with my kids during the summers and stuff like that. It was fun to see all the ideas that they had when I gave the plot. So this is a shared plot. So I am going to give you the plot today. It should also be down in the comments so you can hit the more, screenshot it, or you can send to the email. So if you're writing with me and you wish to receive the plot or exchange chapters, then send your request or chapter and written permission to WritewithMykela@gmail.com. I'll post the email address at the end of the video, and it's also going to be in the description below. I am looking forward to reading your chapters, even if I can't read them all on the channel. But you send them, I'll read them. If you give me permission to read on the channel, I will read them. And it can be any of the plots. If you want the first shared plot that we did, that was the first one I did with my kids. So you could do that one. You could do the second one that we read on the channel. Or you could do this third one here. Now the plot. I will give you the new plot. And then I will combine it. I'll give it combined at the end of shared plot 3.1 and 3.2. In case you're writing the story in one book, which is your choice. You're the writer, you get to choose. Hopefully, I will be able to squeeze both in the description below as well, so you can screenshot it, because it limits me to how many characters I can have. So we'll see if I can get it all in. Sometimes, if they limit me too much, I start put the ampersand instead of the and. So that's one character instead of three. So if you see that, that's what happened. Of course, you can write to my email to get the plot. And you WritewithMykela@gmail.com to get a PDF of plot 3.3 or the combined plot or any of the previous plots that we've done. This is a third book. So that's why we're getting the third today. I didn't edit that correctly. This is the third book, so this will conclude the story. Now here's the plot, the new plot. Number 1, reintroduce your characters and bring your reader up to speed with what happened since book 2. That can be to restate prophecy or to just dive in with what's happening on day 1 of book 3 while remembering the why of what you're doing. Number 2, enemy troops or soldiers come close to finding the people of the prophecy. So in my book, we had to go hide. We weren't ready. And I've given you options to go find other things. So maybe you went and found it, but before you learned how to use it, they were close to finding you, or as you were learning to use it, they were getting close to finding you. So you can fit this in, twist it just a little bit to snuggle it into what you're writing so far. Number 3, decide how to handle the troops if they find the people. What are you going to do? Maybe even explore to find a new place to live, or a new place to go learn and study, or whatever you're trying to do to learn this magic, if you did it that way. Number 4, start small, concentrated attacks on the enemy, on the protagonist attacking the antagonist, but mislead the enemy on where home is by not heading straight there after an attack. So if you live in the north, like in my book, they're going to fly south. And that's not going to be a mistake in the book. It's going to say they flew south to go home. They flew south and then they fly east or something like that to make a long trip around. So there's not an error when I say they're flying south when you know they live in the north, because they're deceiving the enemy, or they're trying to deceive the enemy. So number 4 is start small concentrated attacks, but mislead the enemy on where home is by not heading straight there after an attack. Plan the attack, plan when to break off and retreat, go back into hiding. You just, okay, after you can do anything after 3 deaths, after 10 minutes, after whatever. You can decide. If you have some kind of magic and you don't know the strength of the magic or how long it will be, then you can say, okay, I've been able to do this for 5 minutes. We'll attack for 5 minutes, then we'll leave. Attack for 20 minutes. Whatever you have in your book, you can make it work. But don't push too far. Just do a small attack. 5, have a setback to the antagonist or enemy. And have the enemy kind of rethink things or replan things or become more aggressive or seek aid from an ally the people didn't know existed. You have options. And I try to put in as many options in these plots as I can so that we are still writing together. Number 6, build up to the final battle and decide who ultimately wins and what price do they pay. In the West, which is where I live, in the West, we like happy endings. Cinderella, she marries the prince, and Sleeping Beauty, she marries the prince. All these happy endings, happily ever after, that kind of thing. But that doesn't mean that things are rosy. We never see Cinderella and her new husband afterwards, their fights or, whatever they have afterwards. So it doesn't have to be rosy. You could have a lot of work to rebuild. You could lose a lot of people throughout and during the final battle. Number 7, do a nice epilogue and conclude things. So for me, this is the 3rd book. This is 3 seasons. I've got lots of stuff. I've got the Taylors, I've got the Linkers, I've got, Cinder's people, I've got King Fate writes people, I've got all these things. So in the end, I need to do an epilogue, I need to conclude it. Yes, if they beat King Damon-Tate, are they still going to stay together with him? I mean, the Cinder's group, are they going to stay with King Fate right after the defeat of King Damon-Tate if they defeat him? They don't have to. What's going to happen? How are they going to structure their new society? Okay, so that's the end. Number 7, epilogue, conclude things. Now, here's the combined plots for all 3 books, and the numbers are going to be different. So this is just a list of kind of what's happening. Number 1, you have a tyrannical ruler or government in charge, and prophecies tell of the downfall of this ruler or government. The prophecies list a person or people that will bring about the downfall. The people listed must hide from the tyrannical government or ruler so the bad people don't kill them. Number 3, show life for the normal people and are those helping to hide the ones of the prophecy. How do you tell the normal people apart from the ones in prophecies? Now, in my book, they had a symbol on their arm, and it kind of looked tattooed after it lit up. But you could have anything. Maybe it is a magical talisman or whatever, and they can control that. Maybe they have a birthmark or something, way up here, so where you could hide it with the hair or whatever, way up on the neck. So you can decide how to tell the people, the normal people, apart from the ones in prophecy. That's your job. You're the writer. Number 4, the people of the prophecies have a specialty, a skill, or connection to help them overthrow the tyrannical person or government. Number 5, people of the prophecies must train to be able to overthrow the tyranny, or they must find something to help them. Do they need to leave to train or find said thing? Has it been buried under their village for all these years and they just happen upon it? How do they find it? So that was your job to figure that out. Number 6, the normal people must leave their village or city to stay safe, while the ones in the prophecy train or find whatever they need to find, or both. They may need to find it and train. Some people may leave and some may stay. Some are too scared to leave. Number 7, once the people leave, find some hope. Maybe another ruler who can ally. Maybe find what the people in the prophecies need to find. Maybe bring back magic. Give some hope to come back and overthrow the ruler. Number 8, then start gathering the people that left. Or if you were looking for an object, then find it and figure out how it works. Number 9, start training or planning. If the people left, what resources do they have to survive? And how do they train? Now, in my story, Browser was like, we can't train without a kingdom. We need a kingdom, because he knows the kingdom has the poles that they use instead of swords. They have the dummies that they fight against. They have the water barrels. They have all these supplies and resources. So he doesn't think he can do it without a kingdom. So you have to think about what resources do they have to survive, like food, and how do they train. Number 10, what is their hope? Is magic returning? Are the people of the prophecies learning? If so, what are they learning? Will it be enough? 11, show the strength, or at least some of the strength of your antagonist, and how far is his or her reach. 12, show any newfound allies. It could be just one person to ally, but that person might know the inner workings of the enemy, or that person might know how the object works even though he can't do it himself. It could be just one person, or it could be a king from another kingdom. It could be hunters that are going to hunt to supply the food while you are training. Just whatever allies you decide, show any newfound allies. Number 13, show the hope and the hiding to learn if necessary. Number 14, bring readers forward through your time jump if you have one. Number 15, enemy troops or soldiers come close to finding the people of the prophecy. 16, decide how to handle the troops if they find the people. What are we going to do? If they find us, what are we going to do? Maybe even explore to find a new place to live. 17, start small, concentrated attacks, but mislead the enemy on where home is by not heading straight there after the attack. Plan the attack, plan when to break off, and retreat to go back into hiding. 18, have a setback to the antagonist or the enemy, and have the enemy rethink things or replan things or become more aggressive or seek aid from ally the people didn't know existed. So it seems like the antagonist has a setback, but then what does he do to bolster his side to where maybe the protagonist can't even fight back at that point? It's your story. You got to decide who wins. Does the protagonist win? Does the antagonist win? You don't have to do happily ever after. That's your choice. But if the enemy has a setback, here's the thing. If there's no setback, he just thinks that he's going to win. And he has that arrogance. Or she. But if they have the setback, then they're going to be like, what's going on here? What do I need to do to handle this? How can I make sure that they don't overthrow me? Or what can I do? So, that's your choice. That's why writing is fun, is because you get all these choices. And just because I have a plot, I don't have an outline. So you can work it however you want. 19. Build up to the final battle and decide who ultimately wins and what price do they pay. You don't just win a battle without losing some people or some arms or something. You have to rebuild your home. You have to, nurture the people that are hurt. What price do they pay? Excuse me. So, like I've said earlier up top, in the West, we like happy endings. But that doesn't mean things are rosy. You could have a lot of work to rebuild. You could lose a lot of people throughout and during the final battle. When you're doing those small attacks, probably lose some people or get hurt. And you have to ratify your people back together to keep going after these losses. Number 20. No matter who wins, you decide that. I'm not going to tell you that on this. Do a nice epilogue and conclude things. We've done lots of stuff. We had a village. We've separated. We went to go find something or to go find dragons. Then we moved away, and then we went to go hide. Then we trained. Conclude things. So do an epilogue and conclude things. All right. Notice I slightly altered number 1 of plot 3.3 when I joined them. Number 1 of 3.3 is 14 of the combined. And the reason for that is because when you end a book, and you tie things off or you conclude them, you start a second one or a third one, you have to bring the people up to speed on where you are. You have to do that no matter if your next book starts the next day or several years later. A lot of times, a publisher will publish your book 1 several months or a year before 2 and 3. So I think with Harry Potter, I don't remember precisely, but I think 1, 2, and 3 came out really fast. And then it was like a year or so before 4, and then another year before 5. So it's publishers, they have their schedule, they have all the books that they're going to publish. Sometimes they're 2 and 3 years out on what they're going to publish. I know with the self-publishing, that kind of alters some things as that way, but you could have all 3 books finished if you have the trilogy. Publisher still has their schedule. So you need to be kind to your reader. You need to reintroduce your characters, your readers to your characters. So your readers don't have to go back and reread book 1 or 1 and 2. Although some readers will certainly do that. But then it's their choice. It's not on you. It's like, I don't even remember this book. I don't know, So you want to bring them up to speed. You want them to be able to just kind of read the book without having read the others. You want to be able to, in some ways, just pick up the book and read it. Even though it's, a lot of people like the continuing and they like the characters going through one book and another, and they're familiar with the characters and they know who are the characters. So they like that continuing. But if you do enough flashback and foreshadow and stuff like that, then a new reader to you can pick up your book and pretty much read it and get what's going on and understand what's going on, even though they may not have all the history of book 1 and 2 when they read book 3. Also know, if your story goes across multiple books, you need congruency. You need congruency, you need flow, you need interrelatedness. If you created rules for something, like magic, then they need to be the same. I have a language for the magic that they're saying, these charms. They can't all of a sudden just speak English to say the charm. That doesn't work. And people will do that because all of a sudden I get lazy and I don't want to come up with all these words in this other language. So, they can just use English. No, I made the rules. They need to be the same. That's one thing I mean about congruency. Another thing I mean is if someone died in book 1 or 2, they can't somehow be alive in book 3. Unless you deal with necromancy, which I don't, but I haven't. But if you deal with necromancy, you can raise the dead. Now, certainly people could be missing in action and then found. Another thing about a second or third book is, I said this earlier, remember your flashbacks. If you flashback to a little snippet of something, like sitting with the fire to their backs, my characters remember that. They flashback. Maybe a new reader to the book wouldn't kind of know what, maybe they would want to go back and read that book at that point. But the people that have read it, oh yeah, that was bad. They know that. So, if you have little bitty snippets of flashbacks, and your readers will enjoy small flashbacks to help them remember what they read. That's not taking and repeating the whole scene. It's not going back that night and bringing that whole scene and plopping it in this book. No. Little snippets, Especially if that helps the characters remember why they're on their mission. And for my characters, that was huge. For why Trenton was like, I never want to sit with my back to a fire again, ever. So, that helps him remember. When he remembers that night with his back to the fire, he remembers why he's doing what he's doing. Leave a comment below on which plot or writing prompt you are working on currently and your word count. I know the channel, we have like 3 writing prompts, and then we have the shared plot. There's like 4 things that you could write on all the time. If you just want to focus on just one, that's great. That's great. My grandmother would love you, because she told me before she passed away, work on one thing, finish it, then do something else. She didn't want me doing lots of projects. So if I never took her advice for some reason. She tried to teach me. If you are just doing one, that's great. Just do the one. Just focus on the one. So leave a comment on which plot or writing prompt you're working on, and your word count. And if you're working on more than one, you can do the cave, 6,400 words. The down soldier, 7,000. Whatever you have, you can just do that. And so Elloni's Pride, Breaking Point, my word count. Breaking Point, this is book 1. Currently has 93,564 words. So if I have room in my genre to fill it out a little bit. Elloni's Pride, Regrouping, this is book 2. It currently has 78,758 words. And Elloni's Pride, Gaining Freedom, currently has 86,766. Now, as far as I'm aware, my genre of fantasy adventure is supposed to have between 80,000 and 120,000. So you see, book 2 is a little shy right now. So, book 1 is good. It's got that 90, it's in there. But I know I still have room. I'm not maxed out. I still have room to fill out a scene or 2 in all 3 books. Also, I know on the channel I ad-libbed a few times in book 1 and book 2. And I don't know if those things ever made it into the book. But I have plenty of room to add those things. So I have to go back and read it, to edit it. And when I was spending time editing, I can say, I thought I said this or whatever, and then it'll be one of those things. You probably said it on the channel and didn't write it. So, because I don't stop in the middle of taping and go and put things in that I say. Anyway, it's fun. If you don't have that many words, that's okay. We're all busy. Maybe you only have 10,000 words. That's great. Leave in the comments what your word count is. Maybe you're still working on share plot 1. That's also great, because you're sticking to it, you're going at it, you're hanging in there, and that's good, because we do want finished project. We don't want half of this and half of that. So if you're still in 1, that's great. If you skip 1 and start 2, that's great too. Leave it in the comments. Everything you're doing, leave it in the comments so we can kind of see how everybody's going and where they're doing and everything. Maybe you're writing on your cave story. That's excellent. I like that one. I'm having fun with that one. I'm having fun with the one in the setting too. I'm kind of getting a little bored with the down soldier, so I'm gonna have to see what I could do to amp that up to where it's something I enjoy. As you leave your comments, the rest of us will know how we have a community of people writing with us. The writers, I'm in my cave, you're in your cave. Literally, this room is my cave. So, I don't know who you are, where you are, what you're doing. But when we have the comment section of YouTube and we can say all these things and add comments, and we know each other exists, we know you're right, I know you're writing, you know I'm writing, so that helps us to have a community of people writing with us. Now, join me Tuesday to discuss some jargon and part 10 of A Down Soldier. Join me Friday for Elloni's Pride, Book 3, Gaining Freedom. We will read Chapter 1. And this book, Book 3, has 25 chapters. Visit my website by Mykela and read some character bios. If you read some, leave comments. Always comments. Which ones you've read. Visit my coach's blog, authorkristenlam.com, and leave comments on helpful blogs. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so we can continue to write together. And other people will have a higher chance of finding this video and this channel, since your likes will push the video to a greater audience. Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate your participation. If you know someone who would like this video, please share it with them. If you know someone who could help me with my audio so that I could use my better mic, then please leave that in the comments as well. This is Mykela with Write with Mykela. Bye for now.